People say, well, AI, in stock trading, AI is going to just pick all the stock trades and investments. Number one, not true, because AI can't see forward-looking events because they haven't happened yet. And it's very hard to predict someone flying an airplane into a building, the president slapping tariffs on China. All of this stuff cannot necessarily be predicted. But here's what AI can do for you. It can back test your strategies. It can also calculate your risk and reward. But more importantly, we are now able to get, I call it, corporate level finance reports and research without having thousands of interns and thousands of researchers on our staff. Like you said, we got thousands of researchers in our pocket or on our browser with ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, et cetera. And that just levels the playing field for a regular person who normally didn't have access to this information. And by the way, you can explain it to me like a 5-year-old, and it can break it down like nobody else can.
I actually love that point, Jason, because one of the common complaints that I hear from the community is that, well, AI is going to create this huge wealth gap, right? It's going to be the ultra rich and everyone else is going to be poor, which, by the way, there are going to be some people that make just ungodly amounts of money. But as long as my life is happy and as long as I'm happy and I'm fed and my family, I don't care. You make trillions, zillions of dollars. I don't care as long as my quality of life improves. But the point that you just make, I think, is really important. Now, the average person who knows how to use the right tools and has the right system can compete with a huge battle cruiser of a company because you have a PhD in your pocket. Not only do you have one, but you can create hundreds of AI agents to perform tasks for you, which historically would not have been possible because you're not going to have hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to pay for a staff. Are you seeing anyone executing on this at a high level?
So I can't speak about anyone else, but I can tell you some of the things that we're doing. So for example, I have an AI agent that will go out and give me a morning briefing on everything that happened overnight. I also have an agent that goes out at 4:00 exactly because the market closes at 4:00. And I have it bring me a report of stocks that move, important news that came out, breaking news, sentiment on the market. And I can have all this information before CNBC comes on. I can have all this information before Jim Cramer does his stock market show at 6:00. That is super powerful. I can have all this information before some writer at a news desk can put the same information together and email it out to me. And so that's the speed and the power of what we have access to. I'll give you another real world example of what I'm doing with it and what I'm teaching some of my members to do with it. So earnings reports and earnings calls. There could be 5-10 companies announce earnings in the same day. These calls can go from 1 hour of just announcement, then another 2-3 hours of taking analyst questions and questions from the board, all this stuff. You can now take that call recording, run it through AI, and just say, what are the headwinds? What are the tailwinds? How did they do compared to analyst estimates? And you can just pull out the entire most important part of that transcript and be up to date in 10 minutes versus listening to something that could take anywhere from 1 to 5 hours. But now you also can get through 5, 10, 20 companies in a 1 hour setting by just listening, or 1 to 2 hours by listening to, having a 10-minute report. So the amount of information you have access to, and most importantly, the speed at which you can get it from is just really changing the game for the average investor. Normally you'd have to call your broker, what happened, or you'd have to sign up for the Wall Street Journal or something. Then you got to hope that they're not biased in their reporting. You can literally go out and get the information direct and then get it interpreted in a way that you can understand it and start to make educated financial decisions. And that is huge, a huge win for the regular guy, for the little guy.
I love this. I love this. So when you're sending out your AI agents, which by the way, guys, that's an AI, it's basically like an extension of you. It's powered by artificial intelligence, but it doesn't require you to go in each morning and say, pick the next news story for me. It's automatically going out and doing that for you. I mean, exactly. You can probably even make trades for you automatically as well, though that's probably a little bit risky. But here's my question, Jason. When you're sending out your AI agents, are you creating them and prompting them to look at reputable news sources? Because like to your point, there could be a lot of biased news sources or crap news out there. I mean, Gemini was recommending people put glue on their pizza to help the cheese stick, right? And because it was using Reddit as a reference. So I'm just wondering, where are the reputable places that you're getting news from and you're sending your AI agents out?
Yeah, so that's funny. Well, that kind of supports our earlier thesis that there will always be a need for humans to trust but verify, right? That this is the right information that AI is bringing back. But yeah, so a couple things that I do for my bot. I train it to use reputable sources. So it looks for CNBC, it looks for Market Watch, it looks for Wall Street Journal, it looks for Bloomberg. That's one source. It also looks for New York Times. So it looks for reputable news sources. But here's what I'll say about investing that might be a little different from other industries. Anything that a publicly traded company does is public information. So they have to report their 10Ks. They have to report if the CEO or the C-suite people bought, sold, any breaking news. They have to file and share it with the public. So it's less likely to get random information because companies have to put out publicly verified information, or they could be sued. There's a whole lot of risk with them putting out incorrect information. So it's very rare that it's coming up with misinformation. Now, when you start to ask it for opinions, yes, it can go out to get ready, but I'm only looking for factual data, not opinions. I'm looking for earnings per share. I'm looking for revenue. I'm looking for sales increase, sales drop off. Did they beat on EBITDA, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization? These are just kind of hard facts, data, and numbers. And then when I say go out and look, I have one that says just go out and look for news. What happened today? Any news that I should be aware of? Again, it's less likely. I'm not using Facebook as a source to go get fake news. I'm not necessarily using Reddit as a source. Now, what I will use those platforms for is I'll say, how are other people feeling about this news? Now I do want it to go into the Reddits, the Facebook, and see what are people saying as far as comments. What's the sentiment? Are people feeling bearish? Are people feeling depressed about the economy, about the stock market? Are people losing money because they're talking about it in these little silos? And so I think it's more about understanding where you want your agent to go for specific information. And when I wanted to know how people are feeling, I do want it to go to Reddit. I do want it to go to Facebook and go on the forums. When I'm looking for verified data, so to speak, about publicly traded companies, I want to go into the company's website. I want to go on to CNBC, Market Watch, those reputable websites to get verified public data.